Hey there, folks. Damon Wayne here, your go-to guy for all things Social Security over at North America. Social Security Insider. Let me tell you something that really fires me up. Millions of Americans are leaving money on the table when it comes to Social Security benefits they've earned, they entitled to, and they paid into their entire working lives, the United States Social Security Administration. We've talked about disability benefits, retirement benefits, and all sorts of other programs, but today I want to dive deep into a topic that confuses so many people, spouse benefits. And not just talking about one type, I'm covering the whole gamut: current spouse benefits, divorced spouse benefits, independently entitled divorced spouse benefits, and surviving spouse benefits. This stuff is critical. And I guarantee you walk away from this video knowing at least one thing you did before that could put more money in your pocket every single month. Now you might be wondering about the title I chose, What Every Woman Should Know. Let me explain that. Back when I ran my Social Security office, we used to order 5,000 copies a year of this exact pamphlet from the Social Security Administration. What Every Woman Should Know About Social Security. It was by far our most requested resource. And for good reason, the United States Social Security Administration. Women often face unique challenges when it comes to Social Security: lower lifetime earnings due to wage gaps, time out of the workforce for caregiving, longer life expectancies that mean benefits need to last longer, and a higher likelihood of being widowed or divorced later in life. The United States Social Security Administration. But herein the thing. I'm not just talking to women today. Everything I'm about to share applies to men, too. The issues might present differently, but the rules are the same regardless of gender, so let's just get that straight right from the start. Alright, let's jump right into it. Spouse benefits can be broken down into four main categories. But let's just start with the most straightforward one. Current spouse benefits. Benefits you can get when you're still married to someone. Now herein, a big misconception I hear all the time. People think they can just claim spousal benefits whenever they want, but that is not how it works anymore. Especially after the 2015 Bipartisan Budget Act made some major changes that went into effect in 2016. Before 2016, there was this strategy called Shab-in, File, and Suspend that allowed spouses to maximize their benefits in some pretty clever ways. Let me explain how that worked briefly, just so you understand what we lost. The higher-earning spouse could file for benefits at full retirement age, then immediately suspend them, which would let the lower-earning spouse claim spousal benefits, while the higher earner and benefits continued to grow with delayed retirement credits until age 70. It was a great way to get some income flowing while still maximizing a long-term benefit, but that loophole was closed in 2016, so we can't do that anymore. So what are the rules now? If you're currently married and want to claim spousal benefits on your spousal record, you have to file for your own retirement benefits first. That's the first big requirement. The second is that your own benefit amount has to be less than half of your spouse's primary insurance amount, PIN, and I'm going to talk a lot about PIA in a minute because this is where so many people mess up big time. A second. Let me backtrack here because I just mentioned PIA, and I know most people are probably thinking, what the heck is PIA? I just look at my monthly benefit check amount. That ain't exactly the problem. I can tell you how many times I've had clients come into my office, slamming the benefit statements on my desk, saying I demand, quote, I check my benefit is $800 a month, and my spouse's $1,500. Half of theirs is $750, which is less than mine, so I can get any spousal benefits. And I have to explain to them that they looking at the wrong number entirely. Let me make this crystal clear. Social Security does not use your monthly benefit amount, MBA, when determining spousal benefit eligibility. They use your primary insurance amount, PIAM. That's the amount you would receive if you claimed benefits exactly at your full retirement age. FRE, not a day early or a day late. Your MBE is what you actually get each month, which could be reduced if you claimed early or increased if you delayed past OFRE. But for spousal benefit calculations, it's all about the PIA. Let me give you a real-life example to drive this home. Meet Sarah and Mike, a couple I worked with last year. Sarah retired at 62. Her full retirement age is 67, so her monthly benefit is $900. Mike waited until his full retirement age of 67 to claim, so his monthly benefit is $2,000. Sarah did the math. Half of Mike's $2,000 is $1,000, which is more than her $900, so she thought she was entitled to an extra $100 a month in spousal benefits. But when she called Social Security, they told her she was now eligible. Confused, she came to me. I pulled up their records and found the issue immediately. Sarah paid what she would have gotten if she waited until 67 was $1,200. Mike's pay was also $2,000 since he claimed at half-rate. Half of Mike's PIA is $1,000, which is less than Sarah's PIA of $1,200. That and why she was eligible for spousal benefits. She was looking at her reduced monthly benefit of $900 instead of her PIA of $1,200. That one mistake cost her a lot of unnecessary stress and confusion. This is such a common error that I want to shout it from the rooftops. If you're trying to figure out spousal benefit eligibility, do not look at your current monthly check. Look at your PIA. How do you find your PIA? The best way is to create a Bin My Social Security account at sa.gov, the official Social Security website. Once you're logged in, you can see your full benefit statement, which includes your PIA prominently displayed. If you're not tech savvy or having trouble with the website, just call the Social Security Administration Dreen 800 number 1-800-772-1213 and ask them directly for your PIA and your spouser PIA. They verify your identity and then they can give you those numbers right over the phone. Now, let's talk about another critical concept that affects spouse benefits: delayed retirement credits, DRTs. I know this sounds complicated, but stick with me because it's extremely important, especially for surviving spouses. Hearing how DRCs work. If you wait to claim Social Security benefits past your full retirement age, you earn an 8% credit for every year you delay. Up until age 70, that's an 8% per year compounded, which adds up to a 24% increase if you wait from age 67, the current RA for people born in 1960 or later, to age 70. Let me give you a concrete example. Suppose your PIA is $1,000 at age 67. If you wait until 70 to claim, your monthly benefit becomes $1,240 for the rest of your life, plus any cost of living adjustments, core as, that come along. That's a significant increase, $240 more every month, which adds up to $2,880 a year, or $28,800 over 10 years. Not chump change, right? But herein the key point about DRs and spouse benefits. Current spouses do not get to share in their partner near RCs while both are alive. Only surviving spouses get those extra credits. Let me repeat that because it's so important. If your spouse delays claiming benefits until 70 and gets that 24% increase, you as the current spouse only get 50% of their PIA, not 50% of their increased benefit that includes DRCs. But if your spouse passes away, then you as the surviving spouse can get 100% of their benefit, including all those DRCs they earned. This is a game changer for retirement planning, especially for couples where one spouse earns significantly more than the other. Let me introduce you to another client of mine, Robert and Lisa. Robert was the higher earner with a PIA of $3,000 at age 67. Lisa had a PIA of $1,200. Robert decided to delay, claiming until 70, which would give him a 24% increase, making his monthly benefit $3,720. Lisa claimed her own benefits at 67, getting her full $1,200, plus she was eligible for spousal benefits because $1,200 is less than half of Robert's PIA of $3,000, $1,500. So, Lisa got $1,200 from her own record plus $300 in spousal benefits, totaling $1,500 a month. But here, what is really important? If Robert passes away first, Lisa benefit will jump to $3,720 a month, the full amount Robert was receiving, including his DRCs, that tain a massive increase from her current $1,500. This is why financial planners often recommend that the higher-earning spouse delay claiming benefits as long as possible to maximize the survivor benefit for their partner. Eat like buying an insurance policy for your spouse or financial security after you're gone. Now let's shift gears to divorced spouse benefits, another area where people miss out on money they're entitled to. The rules here are a bit different from current spouse benefits, but they're equally important to understand, especially since about 40 to 50% of marriages in the United States end in divorce first. Let's cover the basic eligibility requirements for divorced spouse benefits. You must have been married to your ex-spouse for at least 10 years. From the date of marriage to the date the divorce was finalized. You must be at least 62 years old, the earliest age you can claim retirement benefits. You must be currently unmarried, unless you remarried after age 60, which is an exception we'll talk about later. Your own Social Security benefit must be less than half of your ex-spouse's PIA. They're in that PIA again. Remember, not their current monthly benefit. Your ex-spouse must be eligible for Social Security benefits. They don't have to be currently receiving them, but they have to have earned enough credits to qualify. One of the most surprising things about divorced spouse benefits is that you don't need your ex-spouse's permission to claim them. In fact, your ex-spouse does not even have to know you're claiming benefits on their record. The Social Security Administration won't notify them, and your claim won't affect their benefits at all. They will still get the full amount they've entitled to. That's a huge relief for many people who don't have a good relationship with their ex-spouse. Let me share a story about a client named Karen who almost missed out on thousands of dollars because she didn't know about this rule. Karen was married to Tom for 12 years before they divorced amicably. She worked part-time most of her life while raising their children, so her own Social Security benefit was only $700 a month. Tom had a successful career, and his PIA was $2,200. Karen knew she was entitled to spousal benefits when they were married, but she assumed that ended when they divorced. She didn't want to contact Tom because they lost touch over the years, and she didn't want to stir up any trouble. One day she saw one of my videos and decided to call Social Security to ask about divorced spouse benefits. She was nervous because she did have Tommy's Social Security number, but the representative told her she didn't need it. She just needed his full name, date of birth, and place of birth. Within 10 minutes, they found Tom on record, verified that Karen met all the requirements, and started her on divorced spouse benefits of $400 a month. Half of Tom's PIA of $2,200 is $1,100 minus her own $700 benefit. That's an extra $4,800 a year Karen didn't know she was entitled to, and Tom never even found out about it. Now let's talk about that Social Security number issue because it's a common concern. As Karen found out, you don't need your ex-spouse's Social Security number to claim benefits on their record. The Social Security Administration has access to a massive database, and with just a few key pieces of information: full name, date of birth, place of birth, and sometimes the approximate dates you were married, they can find the person record. I worked in this field for over 20 years, and I've never had a case where we could find someone record with that basic information. If a Social Security employee tells you they can find the person without their SSN, don't take no for an answer. Ask to speak to a supervisor, or try calling back another day. There are always ways to verify someone's identity without the SSN. And another important rule for divorced spouse benefits is the 2-year waiting period. If your ex-spouse has not started receiving benefits yet, you generally have to wait until you've been divorced for at least 2 consecutive years before you can claim benefits on their record. But if your ex-spouse is already receiving benefits, that 2-year waiting period doesn't not apply. This is a crucial detail that can make a big difference in your claiming strategy. Let me introduce you to another client, Mike, who learned this lesson the hard way. Mike was married to Susan for 11 years before they divorced. Susan was the higher earner with a PIA of $2,400, while Mike's PIA was only $900. Mike divorced Susan when he was 61, and he turned 62 6 months later. He immediately applied for divorced spouse benefits, thinking he was eligible because he'd been married for over 10 years, and his benefit was less than half of Susan, but he was denied because Susan had started receiving benefits yet, and they'd only been divorced for 6 months, not the required 2 years. Mike was frustrated, but I told him to mark his calendar for 2 years after his divorce date and apply again. Sure enough, 2 years later he applied and was approved for $300 a month in divorced spouse benefits. Half of Susan's PIA of $2,400 is $1,200 minus his own $900 benefit. That's an extra $3,600 a year he now receiving, and he wishes he'd known about the 2-year rule earlier, so he would have wasted time applying too soon. Now, let's talk about independently entitled divorced spouse benefits. T subset of divorced spouse benefits that's even more flexible. This is when you're entitled to benefits on your ex-spouse's record, regardless of whether they've claimed their own benefits yet. The eligibility requirements are the same as regular divorced spouse benefits, but there is one key difference. You can claim these benefits even if your ex-spouse hasn't retired or started receiving benefits themselves. This is particularly useful if your ex-spouse is younger than you and hasn't reached retirement age yet, or if they're still working and plan to delay claiming benefits until age 70, you don't have to wait for them to claim. You can start your benefits as soon as you meet all the other requirements. Let me give you an example. Meet Carlos and Maria, who were married for 15 years before divorcing. Carlos is 65 and retired, with a PIA of $2,000. Maria is 62 and wants to start claiming benefits, but her own PIA is only $800. She's eligible for independently entitled divorced spouse benefits because she was married to Carlos for over 10 years. Even if Carlos had decided to delay claiming benefits until 70, Maria could still start her $200 a month in spousal benefits right now. Half of $2,000 is $1,000 minus her $800. Now let me move on to the most valuable type of spouse benefit. Surviving spouse benefits, also called widower benefits. The United States Social Security Administration. These benefits are available to you if your spouse or ex-spouse passes away, and they can be worth up to 100% of the deceased person benefit pool any delayed retirement credits they earned. The basic eligibility requirements for surviving spouse benefits are: you must be at least 60 years old, or 50 if you are disabled, the United States Social Security Administration. You must be unmarried unless you remarried after age 60, or after age 50 if you are disabled. The United States Social Security Administration. Your deceased spouse or ex-spouse must have earned enough Social Security credits to qualify for benefits, usually 40 credits or 10 years of work. If you're claiming on an ex-spouse record, you must have been married to them for at least 10 years. If you claiming on a current spouse and record, you must have been married for at least 9 months. There are exceptions for accidental death or military duty. One of the biggest advantages of surviving spouse benefits is that deemed filing does not apply. What in deemed filing? That the rule that says when you apply for spousal benefits, you're automatically deemed to be applying for your own benefits as well. But with surviving spouse benefits, you have more flexibility. You can choose to claim survivor benefits as early as age 60, with a reduction for early claiming, while letting your own benefits grow until age 70. Claim your own benefits first and then switch to survivor benefits later. If that's more advantageous, aiming until your full retirement age to claim survivor benefits to get the full amount without any reduction. This flexibility is incredibly valuable and can help you maximize your benefits over your lifetime. Let me share a story about a client named Eleanor who used this strategy to great effect. Eleanor was married to James for 35 years before he passed away at age 70. James had delayed claiming benefits until 70, so he was receiving $3,200 a month. His PIA was $2,500 plus 24% in DRCs. Eleanor was 62 when James died, and her own PIA was $1,800. Eleanor had two choices. She could claim survivor benefits immediately, which would be reduced to about $2,240 a month. 70% of Jameson's $3,200 benefit. Or she could wait until her full retirement age of 67 to claim the full $3,200 a month. But she also had a third option. She could claim her own benefits at 62, reduced to $1,350 a month, and then switch to survivor benefits at 67, getting the full $3,200 a month for the rest of her life. We ran the numbers, and the third option was the best. By claiming her own benefits early and switching to survivor benefits later, Eleanor would receive an extra $48,000 over the first 5 years compared to waiting until 67 to claim survivor benefits. And once she switched at 67, she'd be getting the full $3,200 a month for the rest of her life, which would be more than enough to cover her expenses. This is just one example of how understanding the rules can help you make smart decisions that pay off for years to come. Now let's talk about a strategy I mentioned earlier that's crucial for anyone who divorced and might be eligible for survivor benefits later. Checking in with Social Security every 6 months. Here is why this is so important. Let's say you're divorced from someone you were married to for 10 years and you're currently receiving benefits on your own record. You think you're not eligible for divorced spouse benefits because your benefit is more than half of your ex's PIA. But what if your ex passes away? Then you might be eligible for survivor benefits, which are worth up to 100% of their benefit PIN if your own benefit was higher than half of their PIA. Or what if your ex continues to work and their PIA increases? Social Security recalculates benefits every year based on the previous year in earnings. So if your ex has a high earning year, their PIA could go up, which might make you eligible for spousal benefits, even if you weren't before. The problem is you might not know if your ex has passed away or if their PIA has increased, especially if you don't have contact with them anymore. Then why I recommend calling Social Security every 6 months and asking to check your eligibility for benefits on your ex-spouse's record. You don't have to give them a reason. Just say, I'd like to see if I'm eligible for any benefits on my ex-spouse's record. Here in their information, full name, date of birth, place of birth, and the days we were married. The Social Security representative will look up the record and tell you if you're eligible for anything. If they say no because your ex is still alive and your benefit is more than half of their PIA, then fine. Just make a note to call back in 6 months. But if they say no because your ex has passed away, then you can immediately apply for survivor benefits, which could be a huge increase in your monthly income. Let me tell you about a client named Patricia who used this strategy and saved herself from missing out on a fortune. Patricia was married to Richard for 12 years before they divorced. Richard was a high earner with a PIA of $3,000, while Patricia, KIA, was $1,800. So she wasn't eligible for divorced spouse benefits because $1,800 is more than half of $3,000, $1,500. They lost touch after the divorce, and Patricia assumed Richard was still alive and well. But Patricia followed my advice and called Social Security every 6 months to check. One day, about 5 years after their divorce, the representative told her that Richard had passed away 6 months earlier. Suddenly, Patricia was eligible for survivor benefits of $3,000 a month, 200% of Richard's benefit, instead of her own $1,800. She started receiving the higher amount immediately, and she got back pay for the 6 months since Richard's death. That did an extra $1,200 a month for the rest of her life, plus a $7,200 lump sum payment. If she had called every 6 months, she might never have found out about Richard's death, and she would have continued to receive the lower amount indefinitely. Now, let's address some common questions I get about spouse benefits. First, can you receive both SSI, Supplemental Security Income, and Social Security Retirement or spouse benefits? The answer is yes, but only if your income and resources are below certain limits. SSI is a needs-based program, so it is designed to help people with limited income and resources. If you receiving Social Security benefits, those benefits count as income for SI purposes, which might reduce or eliminate your SSI eligibility. Let me give you an example. Linda, who asked this question in the original video, has a Social Security retirement check below $1,000 a month. She wants to know if she can collect SSI in addition to her retirement check. The answer depends on her total income and resources. In 2026, the federal SSI benefit rate is $943 a month for an individual, but if Linda is receiving $900 a month in Social Security, her SSI benefit would be reduced to $43 a month, assuming she has no other income, and she would have to have less than $2,000 in countable resources, like bank accounts, stocks, and bonds, to be eligible. Another common question is, can you claim spouse benefits if you're still working? The answer is yes, but your benefits might be reduced if you earn more than the annual earnings limit. The United States Social Security Administration. In 2026, the earnings limit is $21,240 for people under full retirement age. If you earn more than that, Social Security will withhold $1 in benefits for every $2 you earn above the limit once you reach full retirement age. Therein, no earnings limit. You can work as much as you want and still receive your full benefits. Let me clarify this with an example. John is 63, under his full retirement age of 67, and Harry claiming spousal benefits of $500 a month. He works part-time and earns $25,000 a year, $3,760 above the $21,240 limit. Social Security will withhold $1,880 in benefits, $3,760 will add to over the course of the year, which means his monthly benefit will be reduced to about $343 for that year. But once he reaches 67, he can earn as much as he wants without any reduction in his benefits. Now, let's talk about some exceptions to the rules we've discussed, because there are always exceptions when it comes to Social Security. One important exception is for spouses caring for a child under 16 or a disabled child who receives benefits on the working parent chain record, the United States Social Security Administration. In this case, you can claim spousal benefits as early as age 62 without having to file for your own benefits first. And if you're caring for a child under 16, you can claim survivor benefits at any age. You don't have to wait until 60. The United States Social Security Administration, in other exception, is for divorced spouses who remarry after age 60 or age 50 if disabled. Normally, if you remarry before age 60, you lose your eligibility for divorced spouse benefits. But if you remarry after 60, you can still receive benefits on your ex-spouse's record as long as you meet all the other requirements. This is a crucial exception for many people who find love later in life but still want to keep their Social Security benefits from a previous marriage. Let me share a story about a client named Margaret who benefited from this exception. Margaret was married to Thomas for 10 years before they divorced when she was 55. She remarried when she was 62 to a wonderful man named Robert. Margaret was worried that remarrying would make her lose her eligibility for divorced spouse benefits on Thomas's record. But I told her about the exception. For remarriage after age 60, she was still eligible, and she now receives $400 a month in divorced spouse benefits, in addition to her own $900 benefit, and Robert's spousal benefits of $300 a month. Robert's PIA is $2,400, so half is $1,200 minus Margaret Rennan $900. That's a total of $1,600 a month, which has made a huge difference in her retirement lifestyle. Now, let's talk about how to maximize your spouse benefits, because that's what we're all here for. Right here are my top 5 strategies. Know your PIA and your spouse's PIA. This is the foundation of everything. You can't make smart decisions if you looking at the wrong numbers. Create a My Social Security account today and get those numbers straight. Coordinate your claiming strategy with your spouse. If one of you is a higher earner, consider having that person delay claiming benefits until age 70 to maximize the survivor benefit for the other spouse. This is especially important if the lower earning spouse has a significantly smaller benefit. Don't forget about divorced spouse benefits. Even if you're divorced, you might be eligible for benefits on your ex-spouse's record if you were married for at least 10 years. and you don't need their permission or even their social security number to claim them can't in every 6 months if you're divorced. You never know when your ex-spouse might pass away or when their PIA might increase, making you eligible for survivor benefits or higher spousal benefits. Consider all your options before claiming. Just claim benefits as soon as you're eligible. Take the time to run the numbers and see which strategy will give you the most money over your lifetime. This might mean waiting a few years to claim, but it could be worth thousands of dollars in the long run. Let me leave you with one final thought. Social Security is one of the most important financial resources you have in retirement, but it's also one of the most complex. The rules are constantly changing and it's easy to make mistakes that cost you thousands of dollars over your lifetime. That's why I'm here to help you navigate this complicated system and get every dollar you're entitled to. If you have questions about your specific situation, I encourage you to reach out to the Social Security Administration directly or consult with a financial advisor who specializes in Social Security. And don't forget to subscribe to North America Social Security Insider for more tips, tricks, and strategies to maximize your benefits. Before I go, let me answer Linda's question about SSI and Social Security retirement benefits one more time. Just to make sure it's John clear, yes, you can receive both SSI and Social Security retirement benefits, but your Social Security benefits will count as income for SI purposes, which may reduce your SSI payment. In 2026, the federal SSI benefit rate is $943 a month for an individual. So if your Social Security check is below $943, you might be eligible for some SSI benefits to bring your total income up to that level. But you also have to have less than $2,000 in countable resources to qualify for SSI. Alright, that's all for today. Folks, I hope you found this information helpful and that you use it to make smart decisions about your Social Security benefits. Remember, knowledge is power, especially when it comes to Social Security. Thanks for watching, and I see you in the next video. Wait, hold on, before I really go. Let me share one more story that illustrates just how important this information is. I had a client named Mary who was 72 years old when she came to see me. She'd been widowed for 10 years, and she was receiving a Social Security benefit of $1,200 a month on her own record. She thought that was all she was entitled to. But I asked her about her late husband in work history. It turned out Haydu been a high-earning engineer with a PIA of $3,000, and Haydu delayed claiming benefits until age 70, so he was receiving $3,720 a month when he passed away. Mary was eligible for survivor benefits of $3,720 a month, but she never applied for them because she didn't know she could. I helped her file the application, and she started receiving the higher amount immediately. Plus, she got back pay for the entire 10 years she'd even eligible, over $300,000. That's life-changing money she would have never received if she had to see me. This story just goes to show that it's never too late to check your eligibility for Social Security benefits. Even if you've been receiving benefits for years, you might be missing out on money you're entitled to. So don't wait. Check your record today and make sure you're getting every dollar you earned. Thanks again for watching, everyone. Damon Wayne, and this is North America's Social Security Insider. Stay informed, stay empowered, and see you next time.